Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. Thank you very much for attending. We're going to discuss today a little bit about Costa Rica and whether or not Costa Rica is a good investment opportunity. So we're going to discuss a number of aspects of Costa Rica. We're going to talk a little bit about real estate. We're going to talk about the economy of Costa Rica. We're going to talk a little bit about Costa Rica generally, politically, how stable it is. And at the end of that, hopefully, you will have enough information to determine as to whether Costa Rica is a good investment opportunity. We will talk a little bit about one of our developments at the end of the webinar. And at that time, we will have a special offer for everybody who has attended the webinar today. So first of all, a little bit about webinars for those of you who haven't attended webinars before. Initially, I'll be doing the talking, and during the course of the webinar, if you have any questions, there is a little box on the right-hand side where you can type in any questions as and when they might arise. And then at the end of the webinar, I'll get to as many of those questions as I can, and you can ask questions really about anything. If there's anything that I haven't covered very well in the webinar or haven't clearly covered, please feel free to ask about that. If there's any other areas that I haven't covered at all, please feel free to ask about that. So anything at all about Costa Rica, please feel free to ask about it. So first of all, we might as well start to move through some of these slides. So like I say, what we're going to talk about is Costa Rica. And is it a good investment opportunity? Now, we do hold relatively regular webinars. If you check on our website, www.costaricainvest.ie, you will see any webinars that we have coming up advertised there or highlighted there. In the download area of our website, which is on the right-hand side, you can download old recordings of older webinars. And here are our contact details. Costa Rica Invest, and you've got our website there and also our phone numbers, which you can contact us at all times. Now, Costa Rica Invest is an international company. We have sales consultants working in the US, Canada, throughout Europe, in the United Arab Emirates, and of course we have two offices in Costa Rica as well. We have an office in Quepos, which is on the Pacific coast, and that is a Coldwell Banker franchise, and we have an office in San Jose, which is the capital of Costa Rica, and that's an unaffiliated office. The San Jose office handles our real estate opportunities in the Central Valley and in San Jose, and the Quepos office handles all of our beachfront opportunities. Should you decide to travel to Costa Rica, we can help you with that, and we have a travel arm to our business that can help you with travel, tours, accommodation, car hire, and get you all of the best details on that. If you look again on our website on the left-hand side, you will see a little button there on Travel to Costa Rica, and if you click on that, it will bring you through to a questionnaire, if you like, where you can fill out some details about your travel requirements for traveling to Costa Rica, and we can assist you with that also. We do have Explore Costa Rica tours, and those tours are specifically designed for clients who are interested in Costa Rica but are unsure whether Costa Rica is right for them. The tours are 5 days, and at the end of those 5 days we would hope to have provided you with enough information to determine, number one, is Costa Rica for you? Number two, which area of Costa Rica might suit you? And number three, if it's yes to both of those, which particular property in Costa Rica might suit you? So let's get started. Back to the question at hand. Is Costa Rica a good investment opportunity? So what are we going to talk about today? Well, obviously we're going to talk a little bit about Costa Rica. We're going to talk about the economy of Costa Rica. We're going to talk a little bit about real estate in Costa Rica. And we're going to hopefully answer the question, is Costa Rica a good investment opportunity? So where is Costa Rica? Well, it's in Central America. It's the oldest and most stable democracy in Central and Southern America. It has more teachers than policemen, and it has no army. People often refer to it as the Switzerland of Central America, and it has a literacy rate of 97%. This year, they're going to spend more than 25% of their entire national budget on education. And Costa Rica has a fantastic climate. It's tropical year-round, and it has many, many microclimates. People in Costa Rica live longer than most other places in the Western Hemisphere and have an average longevity of 79 years of age. That's longer than everywhere else, in fact, except Canada. But in Costa Rica, there are blue zones as well, where people live to over 100 in very large numbers, but they live to over 100 with strength and vitality and really enjoy life. Nobody knows exactly why that is, but they think it's a combination of lifestyle, diet, and the beautiful weather. Costa Rica is located at the intersection of two very large continents. It contains over 5% of the world's biodiversity. That's an incredible 1 in 20 of every living thing on this planet lives in a small little country in Central America called Costa Rica. And here you can see just some of that biodiversity. Costa Rica ranks very highly in a number of polls. It ranks 5th in the world in terms of environmental performance, and that study is carried out every year by Yale University. It ranks number 1 in the world in the Happy Planet Index. The Happy Planet Index is a very interesting way of looking at the economic success of countries. It compares the happiness of a nation with the damage that that nation does to the environment in pursuit of that happiness. And Costa Rica ranks number 1 by a long way. In fact, Costa Rica also ranks number 1 as the happiest country in the world in a Gallup World Poll of population's happiness. Now, there is a very interesting video by the NEF research group, which I'll send to everybody afterwards. It provides a great insight into this Happy Planet Index and provides a real view as to why Costa Rica is such a happy country. Costa Rica is the most prosperous country in Latin America, and that study is carried out yearly by the Legatum Prosperity Index. Costa Rica has preserved more than 25% of its surface area as natural park and forest reserve, and that's never going to be developed. And it plans to be carbon neutral as a nation by 2021. That's the 200th anniversary of their independence. More than 95% of Costa Rica's energy requirements comes from renewable resources. 20 years ago, they invested hugely in hydroelectric, wind and geothermal power. At the time, other countries thought they were crazy. Oil was cheap, and these technologies, by comparison, were very, very expensive. Now, 20 years later, Costa Rica produces more than 95% of its energy from these renewable resources. And other countries look to Costa Rica and the inspired decisions that they made 20 years ago. In fact, Costa Rica has a new dam being constructed in the southern zone, the El Diquis Dam. Once that's in place, they will have excess renewable energy in Costa Rica. So they will actually export renewable energy out of Costa Rica. So they will provide more than they need, so they'll provide 100% of their own requirements, and then they will export renewable energy out of Costa Rica as well. As I mentioned, Costa Rica plans to be carbon neutral by 2021. Now, they're going to pursue this through various channels, including planting trees, and they planted more than 7 million trees last year. That's more trees per head of population than anywhere else in the world. But to achieve their carbon neutrality, they're going to have to plant even more trees and preserve more land. And this is going to add even more to the value of existing development land. Of course, Costa Rica is a very attractive tourist destination, and the tourism industry is worth over $2 billion per year to Costa Rica. And they intend to concentrate even more on this into the future. Last year, in 2012, they had a record number of tourists. Over 2.3 million people visited Costa Rica. And tourism in Costa Rica is continuing to boom. Just look on the TV. Where do the celebs go on holiday? All to Costa Rica. But Costa Rica is not just interested in the one-off visitor. They want people to come again and again, and preferably to own a home in Costa Rica. And to do that, Costa Rica has made the process of emigrating to and owning property in Costa Rica very straightforward. You and I have the same land and property ownership rights as a Costa Rican citizen, and that's enshrined in the Costa Rican Constitution. We can own and buy and sell property in Costa Rica without restriction, and this is what makes Costa Rica very different to many of its neighbors. Many neighboring countries, you have to have complex company structures or local partners in order to own property. But in Costa Rica, you can own property and hold it in your own name. Of course, the exodus has already begun. More than 1% of the population of Costa Rica is already North American expatriates and retirees, flocking southward to take advantage of this beautiful country. Why are they coming to Costa Rica? Well, they're coming to Costa Rica because of the lower cost of living, stable political environment, access to great healthcare, and a fantastic climate. The cost of living in Costa Rica is about 50% of the cost of living in Canada, and healthcare is a fraction of the price. In fact, so much so that medical tourism is now a booming business in Costa Rica. So you can imagine living in a beautiful climate, in a safe place with great healthcare for a fraction of your current cost of living. But Costa Rica is not just a pretty place to sit on the beach. They have diversified their economy, and they now generate a large portion of their revenue from high-tech medical, manufacturing, and other industry. Companies like Microsoft, Dell, Hewlett-Packard, Intel, Johnson & Johnson, all have their Central and Southern American headquarters in Costa Rica. And why are companies like this located in Costa Rica? Well, they're looking for a combination of political stability, lucrative tax breaks, a highly educated workforce, and low labor costs. These companies have direct investments in Costa Rica totaling billions of dollars. But the taxation benefits don't just apply to multinationals. Costa Rica is a personal tax haven, and with planning you can achieve a very, very low or even no tax situation for yourself and your family. So to sum up, Costa Rica is very business friendly. It has huge eco aspirations. It's stable, it's safe, and it has excellent healthcare. In fact, looking at the economy of Costa Rica from the outside, you can see that the IMF issued a recent report, and they said that the Costa Rican economy grew at 4.5% per annum from 2010 to 2012. Here are some quotes from an IMF report issued in March of this year. As you can see, it says, Costa Rica is a beacon of political stability and social inclusion. The country's per capita income and impressive social indicators attest to its accomplishments in fostering strong and inclusive economic growth. Costa Rica's resilience in the aftermath of the global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 was an important achievement. Economic growth has rebounded strongly and is projected to continue, while inflation has fallen to the lowest level in many years. They continue by saying that overall, Costa Rica is well placed to maintain vigorous growth in the context of macroeconomic stability. The IMF will continue to support the authorities in their efforts to achieve these objectives. And that report was issued by the IMF in March of this year. So let's have a talk about real estate in Costa Rica. There are two big drivers which I believe are going to affect land prices over the next 5 to 10 years. First of which is baby boomer retirees. Over 100 million baby boomers are going to retire over the next decade. Some estimates suggest that up to 10% will seek to retire abroad. And when they look to retire abroad, what will they look for? Well, they'll look for safety, good climate, quality healthcare, and a lower cost of living. Costa Rica ticks all of these boxes. Now, of course, Costa Rica couldn't possibly take in 10 million retirees, but a significant percentage will look to Costa Rica. And these baby boomers, as a demographic unit, are armed with more money than at any time in the history of the world. This spike in demand will ultimately push property prices up. The second big driver for land price growth is Costa Rica's eco plans. I mentioned earlier the plan to be carbon neutral as a nation by 2021, and the fact that 25% of the country is already zoned as natural park and forest reserve. This aspiration means that more land will have to be zoned as natural park and more trees planted And that will further reduce the amount of development land available, putting upward price pressure on development land. And that process has already started. You can see in this slide here that Costa Rica has already gathered funds together to increase its preserved area from 25% to 26%. So ultimately, is Costa Rica a good investment opportunity? Well, I certainly believe it is, and I hope you do too. So let's have a talk about a specific opportunity. And the specific opportunity is our own development, Nature Walk, Costa Rica. So Nature Walk is an ecological mountain resort community located on the Pacific coast. But it's unusual in that it combines development land with valuable agricultural crops. It's away from the beach, so you're not paying inflated beach prices, but it's close enough to the beach that you're a short drive away. It's about 14 kilometers, or 9 miles as the crow flies. It has a valuable commodity attached to the real estate, which are the crops growing on the land. And this is on all of the lots sold, so you get a double return. If you're a pure investor, you get a double return of land investment and commodity investment. It's a very ecological development. Everything is developed with sustainability in mind to ensure that the natural beauty of Nature Walk is preserved. Nature Walk is an eco-resort community with many parts of the community master planned. So there's planning underway for homes, an equestrian center, and those are actually some of the Nature Walk horses, mountain spa, and of course beautiful teak homes in Nature Walk. This is one of the home designs. Nature Walk is very close to the Pacific Ocean, and this is the new marina in Quepos, which is literally just down the coast. So Nature Walk, that's a very brief introduction to Nature Walk. Many people are pure investors who simply buy some lots in Nature Walk, plan to hold those lots, benefit from the agricultural returns coming from those lots, and sell the lots on in the future. Some people have bought lots specifically to build on themselves. Some are starting to build now. Some have bought multiple lots. They plan to sell off some of the lots and benefit from the agricultural returns from those lots and from the capital increase of selling on the lots, and then use those returns to build their home in Costa Rica. This is the nice thing about Nature Walk. It's a very, very flexible opportunity. And this very flexibility makes Nature Walk as an investment very, very attractive. The project is well underway, and many lots have already been sold, and there are a range of agricultural commodities growing in Nature Walk, from teak, which provides a lump sum return at harvest. We have some lots with 14-year-old teak, and that teak will be ready to harvest in 6 years' time. We have lots with jatropha and maca uba growing on them. That produces biofuels, and that produces a yearly return. We have lots with pineapple. Pineapple produces a yearly return. We have lots with nampi, which is taro. Taro produces a yearly return. We have lots that are intercropped with teak and nampi. The teak will produce a lump sum return at harvest in 17 years' time, and the nampi produces a yearly return. And then we have a very recent offering, which is teak, which has been intercropped with vanilla. The teak produces a lump sum return at harvest, and the vanilla produces a yearly return. So there are all sorts of opportunities to generate an income depending on the income requirement that you're looking for. And remember, these are all development lots, zoned for development that can be built on now. Nature Walk are home builders by trade, and they have a range of home designs available, starting at just $55,000 US. $55,000 gets you a small studio on your land, but that particular run of designs runs up to $179,000. Their next design series runs from $200,000 through to $330,000, and after that they have bespoke homes which can be designed and built according to your specific requirements. Now, I did mention that for those attending this webinar this evening, that NatureWalk has a special offer. As a standard, NatureWalk has a very attractive fly and buy program. The fly and buy program is worth $2,000 in travel in travel contribution from the developer of NatureWalk. So effectively, if you're buying some lots from the developer of NatureWalk, the lots would be discounted effectively by $2,000 if you avail of the fly and buy program. But for those that are attending this webinar this evening, there is another super advantage, and that is as follows. Anybody who has attended this webinar this evening who takes advantage of that fly and buy program before next Thursday, which I think is the 18th, they will also benefit from no closing costs on any lots that they purchase. Normally, closing costs in relation to lot purchases are 3.2% of the purchase price. But in this particular, for attendees at this particular webinar, if you register for the fly and buy program, you will not have any closing costs on your lot. So the fly and buy program is worth $2,000, and the closing costs is an additional 3.2% saving to you. So a very attractive offer. So that's our webinar for this evening. Like I say, we were focused very much on is Costa Rica a good investment opportunity, and we've made a short mention there of NatureWalk and some of the benefits of NatureWalk. I will email everybody afterwards and remind everybody of this super offer that the developer of NatureWalk has made. And so now let's have a look and see if there are any questions in for us here. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions, please feel free to just type them into the question box, and I will get to as many as I can. Let me just open it up and see what questions we have. So there are some here. Let me just scroll through and get to the top question here. Okay. All right. So the first question we have is, can I get residency in Costa Rica? Absolutely. You can apply for residency in Costa Rica. Residency in Costa Rica entitles you to a number of benefits. You have all of the same benefits as a Costa Rican citizen, as a Costa Rican resident, with one exception, and that is that you can't vote in the national elections. There are a number of methods of applying for residency. If you are over 60 years of age and in receipt of a pension income of more than $1,000 per month, you can apply for what they call a pensionado residency. The pensionado residency takes approximately a year to apply for or to go through, and at the end of it you would be granted a pensionado residence, and that would entitle you, like I say, to all of the benefits of a Costa Rican citizenship, with the exception that you can't vote in the national elections. One thing to be aware of: if you apply for Costa Rican residency and you are successful in getting it, you must partake in the Costa Rican healthcare system. That will cost approximately $1,000 per year per person. Depending on your age, it could be a little less or a little more, but it is an excellent healthcare system and very well worth the money. So, but you must apply for that if you get residency. Another method of applying for residency in Costa Rica is an investor residency. And investor residency requires an investment of $200,000 in an approved project. NatureWalk is an approved project, approved by the government, and because of its stature with the Costa Rican government, we can apply for residency with a lower level of investment in NatureWalk. A $100,000 investment in NatureWalk can secure you residency in Costa Rica. And that investment can be in land, or it could be in your home in NatureWalk. We can structure it both ways. And in fact, because of the way NatureWalk is structured, you could hold an investment in NatureWalk which you could convert to a home in NatureWalk should you so wish. And that's called an investor residency. There are a number of other ways of applying for residency in Costa Rica as well. They're not areas we specialize in. For instance, you could get a job with a multinational, and that may come with residency. But the two areas that we can cover for you and our team can assist you with or pensionado residency and an investment residency. And like I say, with Nature Walk, you can gain an investment residency in Costa Rica with a $100,000 investment as opposed to the normal $200,000 investment. So if you have specific interest in that, please feel free to email me, and I can get you specific details on residency and how we do with that. Okay, so the next question that I have is, what is the tax situation? Okay, I'm not entirely sure what that specifically refers to, but I'll work on the assumption that we're talking about just Costa Rica generally. Generally, Costa Rica is a very low tax environment. It has low income tax, and it has no capital gains tax. It does have corporate tax, but corporate tax is also low. As a general rule, and this is just speaking very generally about Costa Rica, it is a very, very low tax environment for most of our clients, with small amount of taxation planning, taxation structuring. We can achieve a low, and by low I'm talking less than 10%, or even in many cases a no tax structure for their investments. And by investment I'm talking specifically about the income yield from their agricultural crops growing on their land. If they sell on their land, remember that there is no capital gains tax in Costa Rica, so you will not be subject to capital gains if you sell on your land, or if you own a house and you sold on the house. Let's say you bought a home for $200,000, you sold it for $400,000. There is no capital gains due in Costa Rica. Depending on where you live in the world, there may be a taxation aspect to your wherever you live locally, but again, that's not an area we particularly specialize in. And if you're specifically interested in taxation specifics on taxation in Costa Rica, that is an area which we can assist with as well, and we have taxation lawyers and taxation accountants who can assist you with that. Okay, and next question that's in here is, how far is Nature Walk from the sea? It's from the sea, the closest beach is Estremejo Beach, which is about 14 kilometers. 14 kilometers, I guess, is about 8 miles. And we're approximately 15 kilometers, or I guess 9 miles from Jaco. Jaco is an existing tourist town, buzzing tourist town. Plenty of activity, lots of bars and restaurants and clubs. Further down the coast, the next large town you come to is Quepos. Quepos is a quieter town than Jaco, but still plenty of activity, bars and restaurants. And then slightly further down the coast than Quepos, the next town down is Manuel Antonio. Manuel Antonio is an expensive town, and again quieter than either Quepos or Jaco. Manuel Antonio National Park is the smallest national park in Costa Rica, but it is the most visited. It attracts more visitors than any other national park in Costa Rica. Okay. Next question that I've got, what other costs are there? Again, I'm not entirely sure what this question refers to. I'll work on the assumption that we're referring to a property purchase. If we talk specifically about a property purchase in Nature Walk. So if you were purchasing a property in Nature Walk, if you're purchasing a lot in Nature Walk, the additional costs would be as follows. So there would be closing costs. The normal closing costs are 3.2% of the purchase price. So if you bought a lot for $100,000, the closing cost would normally be $3,200. However, as I mentioned earlier, for attendees at this webinar who register for our Fly and Buy program before next Thursday, the developer of Nature Walk has said that if you decide to purchase in Nature Walk, you will pay no closing costs. So that's a very significant saving. Like I say, on $100,000 investment, that would save you $3,200. So very significant. So anyway, back to the question at hand. What other costs are there? So normally there would be closing costs, and the closing costs are 3.2%. Usually, we recommend that people hold their property in Costa Rica in a Costa Rican limited liability company, or SA. SA is a company structure in Costa Rica. Now, the reason that we recommend that is quite simply it facilitates and makes very easy the onward sale of the property should you decide to do it. If I own property in my own name and I want to sell that property to you, the normal transfer of title process takes approximately 6 to 8 weeks. So if you want to sell your property, the transfer of title takes 6 to 8 weeks. If, however, you're holding your property in a Costa Rican LLC or limited liability company, then when you want to sell that property, you are simply selling the shares of the company. And that's a process that literally takes a matter of days. So it makes it very much easier to transfer the property should you wish to do so. The setup costs for an LLC have recently increased. There is a taxation on LLCs that has come in the last 3 months. And so the cost of setting up an LLC has increased. So our legal team charges $850 to set up an LLC. Other costs to be aware of are maintenance costs for the crops on the land. Now, for all of the crops that produce a yearly income, the Nature Walk Farming Company takes a share of the income return from those crops as their fee. So they are as incentivized as you are to get you as high a return as they possibly can. The only exception to that is teak, because teak, of course, doesn't produce a yearly return. It only produces a return at harvest. And so there is a cost associated with maintaining the teak, and that cost is $100 per 1,000 square meters, which is a quarter of an acre per year. So there is a cost associated with maintaining teak, but all of the other costs, there is a share of the income pays for the maintenance fees. There are homeowners association fees, and the homeowners association fees are $50 per lot per month, so $600 per year. So just to recap what those additional costs are, and I hope I'm answering the right question, there are closing costs of 3.2%. There's the cost of setting up an LLC. You don't have to do that, but we do recommend it, and it's $850. There are the maintenance costs for the crops on your land. It's a share of the returns for all of the crops that produce a yearly income, and it's $100 per 1,000 square meters for teak. And there are homeowners association fees. Okay, I think we have actually run very slightly over time, and I do have 1 or 2 other questions there. I will answer those questions directly to those who have asked them by email. And so just to remind everybody of what our special offer is for today. And it's only for people attending this webinar. That is, if you like the sound of Nature Walk, and clearly, I mean, you know, we're not expecting anybody to buy it instantly within the next 10 minutes. But if you decide after liaising with us that you are interested in Nature Walk and want to hear more about that, please send an email to us, and we will be sending an email out to everybody a little later. Email us, we'll get in contact with you, we'll tell you more about Nature Walk, and if you decide to avail of the Fly and Buy program, that Fly and Buy program is worth $2,000 to you, and if you subsequently then do decide to buy in Nature Walk, the developer will waive the closing costs or the closing fees. That's 3.2%. So effectively, you could end up saving on 100,000 investments. You could end up saving over $5,000. So a very, very attractive opportunity, and one not to be missed. So like I say, that's only open to people available on this webinar this evening. I will email everybody a little later, and if you are interested, please simply email me back. We can have a chat about Nature Walk. We can send you more information. We can discuss it, and most importantly, we can see if we think, or if you think, it may suit your needs. And if it does, then you should avail of the fly and buy program. You should travel down, and then you should benefit from that fly and buy program and also the discount on the closing costs. So thank you very much for attending, everybody. I do hope that this webinar was of interest and of use. And if you have, like I say, I do have another couple of questions there. I will email everybody those answers. I hope I covered the right aspects of the questions that were asked there. If I haven't been clear on any of those, again, please feel free to email me. And so we look forward to seeing you in Costa Rica soon, and hopefully in Nature Walk. Have a great day. Thank you.